So Sean Payton recently came out on NFL Network on the Good Morning Football show, on NFL Network, where Peter Schrager and I believe Nate Burleson and a couple of other NFL analysts on the NFL Network talk some football in the morning. And Sean Payton, the New Orleans Saints head coach, came on the show for an interview recently, and I listened to the whole interview, and he talked about Jameis Winston, how he himself being Sean Payton, motivates players. And he also talked about Patrick Mahomes. He was asked about, Patrick Mahomes because there were reports actually back when Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech and entering the 2017 NFL Draft. There were reports that the New Orleans Saints were highly interested in Patrick Mahomes. And when Peter Schrager asked Sean Payton about Patrick Mahomes, Sean Payton pretty much had nothing but glowing reviews about Patrick Mahomes, and he said that if they had an opportunity to take Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 draft, they would have done it. Because he said that when he went to Texas Tech's Pro Day and when he turned on the film and scouted Patrick Mahomes during his days at Texas Tech, when he was actually on campus at Texas Tech's Pro Day, and he actually got to see Patrick Mahomes live in person, he said that that was the best college quarterback prospect he'd ever seen. And he was in love with him, and he wanted him on the New Orleans Saints the very next season. And it's ironic because he talked about how Marshawn Lattimore and Patrick Mahomes were pretty much 1A and 1B at the number 11 spot in the 2017 NFL Draft. Now, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs traded up one spot ahead of Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints to take Patrick Mahomes. And based on the way Sean Payton was talking about how Andy Reid traded up to snag Patrick Mahomes, they missed out on getting Patrick Mahomes, you could clearly tell that Sean Payton, to this day, still regrets the fact that he could not get his hands on Patrick Mahomes. Look, Drew Brees is an all-time great quarterback, and I'm pretty sure that Sean Payton has the utmost respect for him. But if you put a lie detector to Sean Payton right now, and you could ask him, choose between Drew Brees or Patrick Mahomes to start your franchise with tomorrow, I think that Sean Payton is going to take Patrick Mahomes. Because if he was thinking about taking Patrick Mahomes back in 2017 when Drew Brees was still playing good football, that should tell you all you need to know. And I really think that there's a life lesson to be learned from Sean Payton missing out on Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 NFL Draft, because Sean Payton, he didn't try to trade up for Patrick Mahomes. He just sat at number 11 overall and tried to wait for Patrick Mahomes to come to him. And folks, well, I should say fellas, if you have a girl out there that you really like or are enamored with, go ask for her number. Go ask her out on a date. Same thing with you ladies, if you see a guy that you think is cute with a good smile, go tell him he has a good smile. Go after him. Shoot your shot. Okay? Go for that job opportunity out there, people. And NFL general managers, I got news for you. If you believe in a quarterback to the way Sean Payton believed in Patrick Mahomes, trade up for him. Don't just sit there and hoping, we'll get our guy. No. The minute you hope you get your guy is the minute you miss out on your guy. And I truly think that Sean Payton missing out on Patrick Mahomes ultimately probably cost him an opportunity to win another Super Bowl, or dare I say, even multiple Super Bowls from that point forward. And it would have been interesting to see what would have happened, because if Sean Payton drafted Patrick Mahomes in 2017, Drew Brees was 38 years old. And I wonder if that would have pushed Drew Brees out the door in New Orleans. I wonder how long Patrick Mahomes would have sat behind Drew Brees, because Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City sat for a year behind Alex Smith. Then the Kansas City Chiefs, said goodbye, Alex Smith. They handed the keys to Patrick Mahomes. Boom, Patrick Mahomes takes off the very next year. And I think that Sean Payton could have developed Patrick Mahomes in a similar way in which Andy Reid developed Patrick Mahomes. And I think that if Patrick Mahomes had those rosters that Drew Brees has had over the past 4 to 5 seasons, I think the Saints would have already had a Super Bowl victory. Because as good as Drew Brees is, I think Drew Brees missed the opportunity these past 4 years with a really good offensive line, with really good running backs at his disposal, with a star wide receiver in Michael Thomas at his disposal, with a really good defense, with Sean Payton calling the plays. Drew Brees won a lot of games in the regular season, but he couldn't win the big one. And we all know Drew Brees has won a Super Bowl, but due to the fact that Drew Brees had arguably the best team in all of football during a 4-year stretch up to this point so far, the fact that he couldn't get a second Super Bowl, that's disappointing. And I really think that if Sean Payton could have found a way to get his hands on Patrick Mahomes, that really could have really sparked maybe the Saints potentially getting talks for being the next dynasty, because Patrick Mahomes in that Saints offense, man, it'd be on steroids, because Sean Payton over the past couple of years has done a good job of hiding Drew Brees' limitations due to Drew Brees being an older quarterback that's not quite in his prime anymore. So I just wanted to share my thoughts on Sean Payton and how he feels still to this day sick to his stomach that he missed out on Patrick Mahomes. And also, I wonder why Sean Payton didn't just draft Deshaun Watson. Look, Deshaun Watson isn't quite as talented as Patrick Mahomes, but when I was evaluating Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in college, I felt Deshaun Watson was arguably the best quarterback in that draft. Obviously, I'm wrong because Patrick Mahomes turned out to be the best quarterback in that draft. But to think at the time when Deshaun Watson was at Clemson and the time when Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech, to have the opinion that Deshaun Watson was the best quarterback in that class, that was not a horrible take. That was not a hot take. That was actually at the time considered the right take, because a lot of people actually thought Deshaun Watson might be the best quarterback in that draft. But ultimately, I think Sean Payton probably didn't have the same grade on Deshaun Watson, because if he had a similar grade to Watson as he did Mahomes, he probably would have took Deshaun Watson. But he passed on Deshaun Watson, and I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think Sean Payton could have extended, a potential Super Bowl window if he drafted Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. I know he loves Drew Brees, but Drew Brees over the past couple of years has declined, really day by day and year by year. And Drew Brees, he's still a good quarterback, but he's not quite what he used to be. The Saints don't throw the ball down the field anymore, and there are reports that Drew Brees might be retiring soon. So I don't want to bash Drew Brees too much, but yeah, Drew Brees is a legend. But I'm sorry, if I'm an NFL general manager, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over Drew Brees all day, every day. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes has already been to more Super Bowls than Drew Brees, already has more MVP trophies than Drew Brees, and has won the same amount of Super Bowls as Drew Brees. And if he beats Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, then that will add 2 Super Bowls to his resume. That will actually be more than Drew Brees has ever won. So that's how I feel about that. I just wanted to share my thoughts on Sean Payton in regards to how he felt about Patrick Mahomes when Patrick Mahomes was coming out of Texas Tech. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes right now today is regarded as the best player in all football. And Sean Payton, he potentially could have had that on his hands. But sadly, that's not the case. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.